Namaskara, Namaste. I am Soumya Raghav and this is Rasam Traditions. Today I'm going to talk about a very ancient and a very old recipe which has seen the tests of times and has eventually come to be known as Rasam or saaru in Kannada, charu in Tamil. But how it has evolved into today's Rasam is what we are going to learn. ಯಾವ ಎಂಥ ಸಾಮಗ್ರಿಗಳು ಬೇಕು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ತುವರ್ ದಾಲ್, ರಸಮ್ ಪೌಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್, ಸಾರಿನ ಪುಡಿ, ಹುಣಸೆ ಹಣ್ಣಿನ ರಸ ಬೇಕು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. ದೆನ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಬೆಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಜಾಗರಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಘೀ ಫಾರ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ರಿಂಗ್, ಕರಿಬೇವಿನ ಎಲೆ ಮತ್ತು ಕೊತ್ತಂಬರಿ ಸೊಪ್ಪು, ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ರಸಮ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಉಪ್ಪು, ಕಲ್ಲುಪ್ಪು. ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಮೊದಲೇ ವಿಧಾನ ಏನಂದರೆ, ಈ ತೊಗರಿಬೇಳೆನ ನಾವು ನೀರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನೆಸೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ 2 different ways. Tuvar dal, make sure you have soaked it for some time, at least 10 to 15 minutes minimum. Discard the water, use fresh water and cook it in either in a pressure cooker or open cook it. If you are open cooking it, make sure that the vessel is really heavy so that it retains the heat. So I use stoneware. So I usually cook in my house as well in stoneware, and that's what I'm going to be using to cook and make our rasam today. So it's very common knowledge to make rasam or saaru, but how to make the authentic way, like how it is made in temples. Now usually when we talk about rasam or saaru, people think that it is made with tomatoes. It's not. Tomato is never used. Some of the padarthas or the vegetables are not used in traditional temples. This is called as nishiddha padartha. Nishiddha is not to be used, something which cannot be consumed or offered as naivedya to the Lord, due to which they do not use many vegetables and fruits also. Like example, onion and garlic is not used. It's purely Sattvic, and so is Ramarasam. And some of the vegetables like carrots, tomatoes are not used. Cabbages are not used. So what we are using today and what we are making today is the most ancient and highly preserved technique or skill so far known to us. Because of that, we are using tamarind juice in place of tomato. What I'm going to show today is the māntana part, which is a forgotten ritual. We have forgotten to do the māntana of the dal after it is cooked. That's what we are going to do today. And that is a reminder of how every single day is a māntana, and that is how the divinity in the food comes out when we think of such things. That's called santana. So this is the cooked dal that I have already. I have open cooked the dal, and I'm going to take like about a cooked dal of 50 to 70 grams of cooked dal. And then to this, I'm going to add, my water is hot, so please make sure that you're using hot water or warm water. So I'm going to add as much water as I wish to have the consistency, and according to that. And once we have this boiling, now I have a stoneware here, so the heat picks up really quickly. So while this is simmering, I'm going to talk about the history. Now begins the story. Rasam or saaru is actually an evolved recipe. Back in those days, yagna madavaga ತುಂಬ ದಿನಗಟ್ಲೆ ತಿಂಗಳಾನ್ಗಟ್ಲೆ ಕೂತು ಯಜ್ಞ ಮಾಡೋರು ಋಷಿಮುನಿ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ how we just sit for few hours in a homam today and perform the homa and finish off by a grand lunch and then we are done with the homa. That's not how havans or homas were done back in those days. It would take them days and months and sometimes years. So that would actually put them in a very famished state. The Rishimunis would lose a lot of energy, and they need something like an instant pick-me-up to satisfy their souls. So they would offer this to Agni Deva at the end of the day after the yagna, so that they can come back to the yagna again the next morning. At the end of the day, they would consume this concoction. And what is this concoction? Concoction made with cooked tuvar dal or pigeon dal. That means once the dal is cooked, you get this thin layer of water which stands on top of the dal. That essentially has the essence of the dal. That means it has all the nutrients of the dal. That is what it is called as sāra. Sāra means one that contains all the essence of the tuvar dal. And to that, they would add a little bit of jeera and pepper and a little bit of salt, offer it to the gods, and then consume it at the end of the day, so that they would regain their energy, so that they can come back in the morning and perform the yagna, continue the yagna again. That is the story of charu. Charu, which became saaru in Karnataka, and then now it is famously known as rasam. And now our dal water is beginning to boil. This is the māntana process that I was talking about. Now this is the kadagolu. If you have visited Udupi, you can see Udupi Krishna holding the kadagolu in his hand. Kadagolu reminds us of the constant māntana that we need to undergo. The difference between the good and the bad is a very thin line, and when you do the māntana, kadadaga idanna kadiyodu antare kannadadalli. Idanna kadiyodu means to cut. So what happens when we do this? It actually means to bring out the best of the dal. All the unwanted, the so-called during Samudra Māntana, how we have two things. The amruta comes out, but before that we had the hala, and then it evaporates. That part evaporates. And then before that, before adding any spices, the māntana is very important. This is a forgotten ritual. Although it is not very difficult task, but I'm sure they will not even have the māntana in their house. Back in those days, it is somewhat like a must-have in every kitchen. And once our dal water has come to a good boil, and to this we are going to add the different spices. First, we'll start with some fresh curry leaves, coriander, fresh coriander. We are going to add rasam powder in the end. Before that, so I have tamarind pulp. I have soaked the tamarind in water for about 15-20 minutes, nicely crushed it with my hands, and then I have this nice beautiful liquid tamarind. So for this mixture, I'm going to add about 6 to 7 spoons of tamarind juice. Now to this, I'm going to add very little jaggery. Back in those days, tur dal used to be really sweetish. Now, because of all the adulteration, probably tur dal is more bland than sweetish. That is why people started adding jaggery. If you are able to source good quality tur dal, which is kind of sweetish by nature, then you can skip the jaggery. But I would like to personally add very little, just so that all the spices come together and mix up really well. To this, I'm going to add rock salt. Rock salt is primarily a little more saltier than the regular table salt, so please be careful if you're using it for the first time. The rasam powder that I'm using is made in-house in our own facility, and we have named it Rama Rasam, and this is how it looks. We make this in-house with the help of ancient techniques, traditional methods, and make sure that we deliver the best, because we love to consume the best, and we believe that everybody out there deserves the same. Now to this, I'm going to add rasam powder. Rasam powder is predominantly made with pepper, jeera, red chilies. In Karnataka, we are very proud of our badgi chili, and we use badgi. I use badgi in my cooking, and a lot of curry leaves, and of course our coriander seeds. Now this is nothing short of a superfood. It's an Ayurvedic syrup or a medication that you can drink every single day to keep all the diseases away. When we are feeling down, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸುಸ್ತಾದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಅನ್ನ ಸಾರು ಊಟ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ like ಸಾಕು ಇನ್ನೇನು ಬೇಡ. That's all we want. That's how the moment. And that's how Karnataka is so famous for its rasam or saaru. I'm going to add in the powder slowly. You can see how I'm actually distributing so that it settles down. Then I'm going to give it a quick stir. This is just only 50% of the rasam. Now, we are going to wait for it to simmer for at least 10 to 12 minutes. While it is simmering, I also would like to touch upon one very important factor and a very important story about rasam or saaru. How did we come to know about these concoctions or broths? So today's word soup comes from supa, the Sanskrit word supa, which again means nothing but a concoction or a broth made up of tur dal. When we cook tur dal, and the water and the dal which comes together, the cooked form of it is called as supa in Sanskrita. Supa Shastra, written by Nala Maharaja, gives us an entire detailed information about how to make it and how to consume it, when to consume it. From there is how it got evolved through many generations, decades, centuries, and now we have our saaru in this form today. Supa Shastra talks about the ancient techniques used and the different cooking methods used. And we have used pretty much many different ways of what is defined in Supa Shastra, like sauteing, roasting, drying, baking. Now, our saaru, our tili saaru, is kind of almost ready. I think everybody here in the room are so tempted to taste this because the room is filled with the aroma of saaru. Okay, now to this we are going to temper it with tadka. Tadka is one word which is globally known, but nammalli, Kannadadalli, we call it ಒಗ್ಗರಣೆ. ಒಗ್ಗರಣೆ ಇಲ್ದಲೆ ಅಡುಗೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. I've added 2 spoons of ghee to this. Add a little tiny bit more. Then I'm adding asafoetida, hing. Yes, even there we have a conflict. People usually put it in the end, but I was taught by my grandmothers to put it in the beginning. And then mustard seeds, it's going to crackle now, and very little turmeric. So turmeric is, I'm going to close it so I don't want it to splutter everywhere. Now turmeric usually is added a little bit because it is oil soluble, it is great for the gut, it is a great accompaniment. Not just that, from the Shastra point of view, when we add turmeric, the Shuddhi comes into the dish and it is Shubha. It's a good thing, it's a good omen to put a little bit of turmeric into our tadka. So you want to take it from the healthy aspect or from the Vedic or the Puranic aspect, it's your choice. And now I'm going to add it to our, if you're a first time cook or a new cook, make sure you're standing a little away. And then do not miss this part at all. Now our oh so beautiful rasam is ready to be consumed as is, like a soup or with hot rice. So the next time you're consuming or sipping hot rasam, think about the divine story behind this wonderful dish, the history that it carries with it, and the timeless wisdom that has gone into making this beautiful broth. It is not just a concoction, it is our history. You're sipping India's oldest food sciences, still alive in every single home. Connect with us on Instagram or Facebook. We would love to know about how you enjoy your rasam. Thank you. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.